Hi, thank you so much, Sophia, and thanks to the workshop for having us. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. I know it's a really busy time, and it feels really good to be here, particularly given the very disturbing events of this month and this week, and of course today. It seems like a very relentless time. I thought I would just give you a little bit of context about the discussion before we start our discussion about Youngha's new book. And playing behind us are some photos of Korea so that you can sort of accompany us on our journey there through the text. So this afternoon, it was terrible to see our president, Trump, though he doesn't really feel like our president, standing before the UN General Assembly, slinging the ugliest of words, as though he exists in a fantasy world without consequences. Korea is now a constant in the news, North Korea especially, yet the analyses to me and in the Western media seem very abstract. Thought experiments on how many people would die from a nuclear strike versus conventional warfare, how many days it would take to overwhelm the North Korean military. So much of the coverage is binary, too. US and North Korea, with seldom a mention of Japan, Russia, China, or even South Korea, which, as you know, is actually attached to North Korea. Last night, I went to a really strange event. I was at the Intercontinental Hotel by Grand Central to attend a dinner in honor of South Korean President Moon Jae-in, who's here for the UN General Assembly. President Moon is just a few months into his tenure, having been elected to replace the very corrupt President Park Geun-hye, elected, therefore, by millions of people demanding social reform. It's an unenviable position, coming into office amid the madness of Trump and Rocket Man. And already I fear that President Moon might go the way of Obama. Hope and change are terrifying promises. Anyway, the dinner was a public relations event, so I didn't expect much, but I was astounded by the abiding sense of calm. Most of the president's comments were about the 2018 Winter Olympics, which will take place in the South Korean city of Pyeongchang. All of us Korean Americans in attendance were called upon to be ambassadors of a glittering South Korean brand. The hotel ballroom was filled with Pyeongchang theme music, dancing Pyeongchang mascots, Pyeongchang banners, Pyeongchang neck towels, and Pyeongchang lanyards. It was a vision of what the Olympics force a nation to become: beautiful, clean, without a care in the world. So I felt a bit like a spy. Like a good journalist, I hate propaganda, and I also had 3 of Youngha's books in my bag. He is a writer I admire greatly because of his refusal of this kind of superficiality in Korean society. He writes in a great tradition of social realist authors, but with modern, sharp-edged verve. For many of you, Youngha needs little introduction. You have read his novels in translation, including Your Republic is Calling You, I Have the Right to Destroy Myself, Black Flower, and his most recent book, which we'll talk more about tonight, I Hear Your Voice. More than most contemporary Korean authors, his words have reached us in English, perhaps because his prose is so compact and energetic, and his characters and scenes so contemporary and vivid. He is best known as a fiction writer, but I also love the series of op-eds he wrote in 2013 and 2014 for the New York Times. Jenny Wang Medina, here on stage with us, is a scholar of contemporary Korean culture, and she's also the translator who brought us Youngha's column. Youngha wrote presciently on Samsung and the occult, topics that figured into the recent candlelight movement and the impeachment of President Park Geun-hye. But in covering Samsung, Youngha did more than lay out the economic facts. He gave us insight into the claustrophobia of a nation dominated by dynastic conglomerates. He wrote, quote, "A person could live here in South Korea using only Samsung products. You could wake up in your Samsung CNT-built apartment, turn on your Samsung TV, and check the weather on a channel run by Lee Geun-hye's brother-in-law. On the subway, you could watch how the Samsung Lions lost their baseball game the night before on your Samsung Galaxy smartphone. On the weekend, you could spend time with your family at Samsung's Everland amusement park just outside of Seoul. And you could pay for everything using your Samsung credit card," end quote. In his new book, I Hear Your Voice, Youngha writes about 2 young men in Seoul, Jae and Dongyu, who, through hard knocks and rebellion, refused the constraints of good society. Here is a portrait of Seoul's underclass, the people Seoul has rejected, and the people who have rejected Seoul. Jae, Dongyu, and their friends are thieves and pizza delivery men and motorcyclists. They are dropouts, vagrants, sex workers, and pimps. They are brave and fiercely loyal, but survivalists on the streets of an Asia megacity. It's a portrait of youth in an unflinching society, and it's our pleasure to read about it tonight. In terms of the agenda for this evening, Young-ha will read 2 short passages in Korean, which I think is really wonderful that we get to hear the contrast of the text in the original language and in English. And then Jenny will follow by reading the same passage in English. The translation is by Krys Lee, who wasn't able to be here tonight but did a fantastic job on this book. Then after that reading, I'll ask them a few questions and we'll open it all to you for conversation. Thank you so much, and please join me in welcoming Young-ha Kim.
제가 먼저 인사를 할까요? 네. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming here. Yes, I was here so for my new book translated into English. So I'm very happy to publish 4 books, 4 books in English this year. So unfortunately, my translator Krys Lee couldn't be here, but yeah, that's okay. So Jenny Wang Medina will help me, and she helped me translate and my words. So yeah, okay. Let's begin. 먼저 읽을까요? 네. 네. So I will read the short the chapter of this book, and Jenny will read longer. Okay. 고속버스 터미널 옆에는 시내 전체의 꽃 수요를 감당하는 거대한 화훼상가가 있다. 발이 없는 식물들이 쉴 새 없이 움직이는 곳이다. 전국의 비닐하우스에서 몰려온 꽃들은 시내의 꽃집, 결혼식장, 졸업식장, 그리고 장례식장으로 흩어진다. 꽃은 태어나고 공부하고 짝짓고 병들고 죽는 인간사의 모든 중대한 일과 함께한다. 그 어디에서도 시든 꽃은 질색이다. 시체 옆에서도, 신혼부부 옆에서도, 졸업생 옆에서도 시든 꽃은 환영받지 못한다. 때문에 꽃은 줄기 잘린 식물의 성기는 아주 재빨리 적절한 장소로 움직여야 한다. 제이를 키운 사람은 돼지 엄마였다. 언제부터인지 모르겠지만 그렇게 불렸다. 결혼한 적도 아이를 낳은 적도 없었지만 그랬다. 돼지를 연상시키는 구석도 없었다. 몸매는 나이에 비해 날씬한 편이었고 식탐도 없었다. 그녀는 화훼상가 구석에서 작은 구멍가게를 했다. 커피와 음료수, 토스트와 삶은 달걀, 그리고 과자와 라면 같은 것을 팔았다. 꽃장수와 배달부가 주 고객이었다. 달걀 부침을 얹은 토스트를 단숨에 삼킨 배달부들은 주문받은 화환을 오토바이에 싣고 거리로 달려나가곤 했다. 뒤에서 보면 커다란 화환들은 바퀴를 달고 제 힘으로 움직이는 것처럼 보였다. 제이가 터미널 화장실에서 처음 세상으로 제 몸을 내밀던 순간 돼지 엄마는 은행에 다녀오는 길이었다. 제이의 울음소리에 사람들이 세렝게티 평원의 누우떼처럼 달리기 시작하자 그녀도 그 흐름에 휩쓸렸다. 그리고 잠시 후 화장실에 그 북새통 속에 들어가 있었다. 누군가 방금 어미에게서 떨어져 나온 미끌미끌한 핏덩이를 그녀에게 건네주었다. 영아 살해의 운명에서 벗어난 아기는 돼지 엄마의 손으로 넘어가자마자 그 지독한 울음을 멈추고 그녀를 올려다보았다. 면도날을 든 이발사를 올려다보는 시선이었다고 훗날 그녀는 회상했다. 그녀는 아기를 데리고 가게로 돌아가 따뜻한 물로 씻기고 깨끗한 천으로 감싼 후 품에 안았다. 멀찍이서 보니 화장실의 소라는 계속되고 있었으나 아기의 행방에는 아무도 관심이 없는 것 같았다. 그녀는 가게 문을 일찍 닫았다. 집에 도착하자 3살배기 푸들이 낯선 냄새를 맡고는 껑충껑충 뛰며 아기를 향해 캥캥 짖어댔다. 축축해진 블라우스를 벗던 그녀는 2 손으로 제 젖가슴을 만졌다. 이게 웬일이니 처녀 가슴에서 젖이 나오는구나. 아기를 목욕시키던 돼지 엄마는 아기의 등에서 이상한 것을 발견했다. 부어오른 듯 불룩 튀어나온 양쪽 어깨 쪽지 부근의 뼈를 그녀가 조심스레 만졌다. 아기는 아파하지 않았다. 여전히 생글거릴 뿐이었다.
everyone. Thank you for inviting me. I know I'm standing in for Krys, who is a wonderful author of her own, on her own accord, but I'm happy to help and to be here to see Young-ha again. So I'm going to read the same. He read chapter 2. I'm going to read chapter 2 and 3 from the translation. Next to the express bus terminal, there's an enormous plant and flower market that meets the entire city's demand for flowers. It's a place where plants are constantly on the move. Flowers collected here from greenhouses across the country are sent out to the city's flower shops, wedding halls, graduation ceremonies, and funerals. People are born, study, mate, become ill, and die, and flowers are present for all those critical moments. Withered flowers are uniformly despised. They aren't welcome beside a corpse, a newlywed couple, or a recent graduate. Fresh-cut flowers, the sexual organs of plants removed from their roots, have to be rushed to their intended destination. Mama Pig had raised Jay. I'm not sure when Mama Pig became her name, but it stuck even though she had never been married or had a baby, and didn't look at all like a pig. She was slender for her age and had a small appetite. She ran a little shop in one corner of the flower market that sold coffee and other beverages, toast and hard-boiled eggs, snacks, and ramen. Her main customers were flower merchants and delivery people, who swallowed a whole fried egg on toast, then loaded large floral wreaths onto a motorbike and raced off. Seen from behind, these enormous wreaths seemed to propel themselves on wheels. While Jay was thrust out into the world in the bus terminal bathroom, Mama Pig was returning from the bank. She was swept along with the crowd, galloping like a herd of wildebeests on the Serengeti plain. Moments later, she ended up in the chaos of the bathroom. Someone handed her the slippery baby who had just tumbled out from his mother. The baby, having escaped his fate of infanticide, stopped wailing as soon as he landed in her arms. He gazed up at her. Later, she recalled how it was if she were a barber holding a razor blade to him. She took the baby to her shop, and after she washed him in warm water and wrapped him in a clean cloth, she held him to herself. Though a distant uproar continued in the bathroom, no one seemed interested in the baby. She closed up shop early that day. As soon as they arrived home, Mama Pig's 3-year-old poodle smelled something new and began yapping as it bounded up and down. She took off her wet blouse and held her breasts with both hands. "How's this possible?" she said. "Milk from a virgin's breast." While bathing the baby, Mama Pig discovered something strange on his back. She traced the bones bulging out around his shoulder blade area on both sides, but the baby didn't seem to feel pain and just beamed. Chapter 3. 3 years after bringing Jay home, Mama Pig closed down her little shop and began working for a hostess club's kitchen in Gangnam. Around that time, they moved into my family's multi-unit. We had just built an extension to our old 2-story house and converted it into 6 separate apartments. 2 families each moved into the semi-basement. We lived on the first floor. My mother grumbled that we'd gone even deeper into debt because of the high construction costs. A working-class family from Pakistan lived in the semi-basement. A young bachelor and an asthmatic old man lived on the 3rd floor, and Jay's family, as well as a Chinese food delivery man, rented the apartments on the 2nd floor. My first memory of Jay as a kid is him teetering on a dining chair with his arms outstretched when, with an ear-splitting cry, he fell in my direction. I don't remember a grown-up running to help him or take him to a hospital. I just remember him falling, and a dull pain nailing me to the floor. I assumed that Jay recalled what happened and later often asked him about it, but each time he shook his head. It felt somehow unfair that I remembered the accident more vividly than Jay, when it happened to him. Maybe he had passed out, or it had happened when he was so young that he had just forgotten. But whenever I think about him, this scene appears before me like a movie theater preview. This memory, maybe even a fake memory I made up much later, came back along with a jumble of sensations. When Jay, standing at that high place, loses his balance and totters, my heart starts pounding and my head goes numb. From somewhere, a whirring sound begins, like a fan that's lost one of its wings, turning at high speed, and my hands go slick with sweat. My breath shortens, and a faint smell of something like gasoline permeates. I, of all people, can't deny this memory. It stayed with me through all these sensations. What I mean is, I'm sure they aren't images from a movie that I've accidentally sneaked in. The crescent-shaped scar on Jay's forehead was likely from that fall. Throughout his life, whenever he was thinking, he rubbed at the scar with his index finger, as if scrubbing the fuzz from an eraser. He falls toward me over and over again. His backlit silhouette, both arms stretched out to me to pin me down inside fear and pain.
I'm going to jump chapter 18. Yeah. 다음날 점심시간에 밖에 나갔다 들어오던 같은 반 아이가 나를 불렀다. 야, 동규방구. 학교에서의 내 별명이었다. 반에서 나의 서열은 너무 비만이라 몸을 제대로 가누지도 못하는 애 바로 위였다. 사실상 꼴찌였다. 공부도 못하고 싸움도 못하는 병신력 절정의 찐따. 그게 나였다. 웬 이상한 노숙자가 너 찾아. 너네 아버지 같더라. 어디서? 교문안 문방구 갔다 오면서 빵 사와라. 나가보니 꼬챙이처럼 비썩 마른 남자가 서 있었다. 누구세요? 나야, 제이. 서울을 떠난 게 15살 때였으니 2년이 흘렀다. 소년의 용모가 변하기에 충분하고도 남을 시간이었지만 제이는 괄목상대라는 말이 무색할 정도로 달라져 있었다. 키가 훌쩍 커서 좋기 180cm는 돼 보였고 몸에 군살이라고는 하나도 없었다. 깎지 않은 수염으로 덥수룩한 얼굴은 햇볕에 그을린 광대뼈가 붉게 도드라져 있었다. 도마에 꽂아놓은 칼처럼 팽팽하고 예리한 인상이었다. 너 정말 제이 맞아? 17의 소년으로는 아무도 봐주지 않을 어른의 얼굴이었다. 눈과 볼에는 내가 알던 제이의 모습, 어린 시절의 기운이 남아있었다. 내가 그렇게 변했냐? 길에서 마주치면 못 알아보겠는데? 제이는 나의 안부를 물었다. 그러나 나는 그의 안부를 되묻지 않았다. 그의 몸 전체가 그의 안부를 대변하고 있었다. 우리는 문방구 옆 편의점 의자에 앉았다. 뭐 좀 먹을래? 제이는 고개를 저으며 주머니에서 쌀을 꺼내 보여주었다. 그게 뭐야? 쌀 몰라? 제이는 생쌀을 입에 털어놓고 으득으득 씹으며 말했다. 난 이거면 돼. 나는 편의점에 들어가 삼각김밥을 사서 밖으로 나왔다. 그래도 좀 먹지 그래. 제이는 김밥에 희끗 눈길을 주기는 했지만 역시 고개를 저었다. 어제 꿈에 널 봤어. 제이가 말했다. 이상한 일이네. 어제 목란이란 여자애를 만나서 네 얘기를 했는데. 목란? 걔가 누군데? 1년 전에 대학로에서 만났었다는데 걔 폰으로 나한테 전화됐었잖아. 제이는 그제야 기억을 하는 것 같았다. 아, 나는 목란을 만나게 된 사연을 전해주었다. 제이가 물었다. 폰 좀 줘볼래? 제이는 내 폰을 열어 통화 기록을 보았다. 3이 맞구나. 그게 무슨 소리야? 그 여자의 번호 그런 게 있어. 제이는 폰을 내게 다시 돌려주었다. 나는 제이에게 물었다. 왜 여태 연락 안 했어? 이 지경이 되도록. 너한테는 연락 안 하려고 그랬어. 제이는 으득으득 생쌀을 씹으며 말했다. 왜? 네가 나 넘겼었잖아. 그건 변명할 건 없어. 난 지금의 내가 더 좋으니까. 잠은 어디서 자? 조금 춥게 자려고만 하면 잘 때는 많아. 정말 안 먹을래? 나는 삼각김밥을 다시 제이에게 내밀었지만 그는 이번에도 고개를 저었다. 나는 그것마저 꾸역꾸역 입에 쑤셔 넣었다. 넌 어때? 제이가 물었다. 나는 변화된 상황에 대해서 말해주었다. 아버지가 재혼을 했어. 새엄마한테 애가 둘이야. 걔들이 날 무서워해. 나만 보면 깜짝깜짝 놀라. 아침마다 기억이 리셋되는 애들 같아. 날마다 얼굴에 누구세요? 라고 써 있어. 어제 꿈에 네가 어떤 투명한 방 앞에 서 있었어. 나는 그 방 안에 들어 있었는데 내가 아무리 들어오라고 해도 너는 들어오질 않았어. 아니 그러지 못하는 것 같았어. 내가 주인공인 영화를 보는 관객처럼. 혹시 거기 여자애 하나 없디? 아니 너밖에 없었어. 그래서 어떻게 됐어? 네 몸이 터졌어. 폭탄처럼 빵. 그래서 내가 너무 아팠어. 아팠다고? 난 요즘 자주 아파. 심장을 걸레처럼 누가 쥐어짜는 것 같아. 심장병 아니야? 특정한 패턴이 있어. 물건이든 기계든 동물이든 사람이든 상관없어. 그 무엇이든 그 존재에 합당하지 않은 고통을 겪고 있다면 나도 그걸 느낄 수 있어. 움푹 꺼진 제이의 두 눈이 평영하게 빛나고 있었다. 그에게서 나는 어떤 귀기를 느꼈다. 고통만 느껴? 기쁨도 느끼지. 그들이 행복해한다면. 그런데 기쁨의 순간은 흔치 않아. 대부분은 고통이야. 제이는 자신이 지나온 지난 2년간의 궤적에 대해 이야기했다. 듣는 것만으로도 마음이 좋지 않았다. 특히 가출한 애들과 지내던 날들이 그랬다. 어젯밤 한강다리 아래에서 비를 피하고 있었어. 그런데 또 심장이 아파오더라고. 그래서 네 생각이 났어. 그래서 네가 고통을 받고 있다고 생각했지. 함구증의 시절에 제이는 내 욕망의 통역자였다. 이제 그는 내 고통을 읽으려 하고 있었다. 나는 쉽게 읽고 던져버릴 수 있는 대중소설이 되고 싶진 않았다. 난 괜찮아. 새엄마하고 썩 좋지는 않지만 3년만 버티면 대학에 가잖아. 대학이라는 단어를 내뱉는 순간 문득 죄책감이 들어 나는 살짝 고개를 숙였다. 대학은 왜 가? 가고 싶어? 제이가 물었다. 가야 되니까. 그런 건 누가 정했지? 세상이 정했잖아. 반감이 실려 말꼬리가 살짝 올라갔다. 정말 그럴까? 네가 갈 수 없다고 해서 그게 다 무의미한 건 아니야. 사람들이 다 그렇게 하는 데는 그만한 이유가 있는 거라고. 나는 단지 질문을 하고 있는 것뿐이야. 지난 1년간 나는 나 자신한테 묻고 또 물었거든. 그게 어느새 버릇이 됐나 봐. 내 고통의 이유는 무엇인가? 타인의 고통은 왜 나의 고통이 되는가? 신이 내게 이런 운명을 준 것에는 어떤 의미가 있는가? 고속버스 터미널에서 죽었어야 할 내가 지금까지 살아있다면 그것은 무슨 뜻일까? 이런 질문들을 하는 거야. 나는 새벽에 일어나 밤늦게까지 돌아다녀 조용한 곳을 찾아 책을 읽고 생각을 해. 그런데도 늘 시간이 부족해. 그래서 답은 찾았어? 내 등에 이상한 거 나 있는 거 너도 알지? 알아. 네가 흔적 기관이라고 우겼었잖아. 꼬리표처럼 퇴화한 날개뼈라고. 농담처럼 말했지만 실은 반쯤 믿고 있었더랬어. 내 등에는 자라다만 날개가 있다고. 언젠간 그게 다시 자랄 거라고. 그래서 이제 날개 다 났어? 나는 제이의 등을 만져보았다. 별로 달라지지 않은 어릴 적 그대로였다. 안 났는데? 이야기책에 나오는 날개 달린 장수 뭐 그런 게 될 줄 알았는데 그건 아니었던 것 같아. 그건 뭐야? 우리가 사는 이 지구에는 특별한 목적을 가진 기계들이 있어. 바로 센서야. 감각을 하는 게 그것들의 목적이야. 지구 곳곳의 센서들은 기온과 습도와 바람을 측정하지. 어떤 센서는 전나무 가지에 매달려 있다가 시베리아 호랑이가 지나가면 반응을 하고 사진을 찍어. 센서는 너무나도 많아. CD의 홈을 읽기도 하고 적외선으로 피사체와 렌즈 사이의 거리를 재기도 하고. 그런데 고통을 감지하는 센서는 없어. 그게 너라는 거야? 그래, 나는 그렇게 만들어진 것 같아. 아침에 출근하는 사람들이 내 앞을 지나가면 그들의 고통이 내 영혼을 짓눌러. 그들이 지고 가는 삶의 무게로 가슴이 터질 것 같아. 거기서 벗어나고 싶진 않아? 너도 편하게 살고 싶을 거 아니야? 그럴 수는 없어. 이건 내 운명이야. 정신 차려. 너는 기계가 아니잖아. 남의 고통을 느끼게만 하고 그걸 극복할 방법은 주지 않았을 리가 없어. 신은 원래 그런 존재야. 신은 비대칭의 사디스트야. 성욕은 무한히 주고 해결은 어렵도록 만들었지. 죽음을 주고 그것을 피해갈 방법은 주지 않았어. 왜 태어났는지는 알려주지 않은 채 그냥 살아가게 만들었고. 내가 뭐 도와줄 수 있는 건 없어? 없어. 제이는 웃으며 고개를 지었다. 그래도 필요한 거 있으면 말해. 제이가 말없이 제 코트 주머니에서 쌀 한 줌을 집어 내밀었다. 더러운 손바닥 때문에 쌀 알갱이들은 더 하얘 보였다. 나는 엉겁결에 손을 내밀어 받았다. 몇 알을 집어 입에 털어놓고 으득으득 씹었다. 점심시간을 마치는 종소리가 울렸다. 제이는 멀어지는 항구를 돌아보는 선원의 눈길로 학교 중앙에 시계탑을 올려다보았다. 교실을 향해 달리는 내 목덜미에 제이가 던진 말이 와서 감겼다. 뛰지 마. 네가 이 우주의 중심이야. 그 말을 듣는 순간 참을 수 없는 반발심이 들었지만 당장은 그 이유를 알 수가 없었다. 그러나 찜찜한 무언가가 오랫동안 마음 한구석에 들러붙어 있었다. 네.
So we've jumped quite a bit in the narrative. I'm going to catch you up a little bit on the plot points. So we're introduced to Jae and Dongyu. They become very close friends, and Dongyu has a condition where he can't speak. So Jae comes to kind of speak for him when they're children. But when Dongyu regains his voice, he finds that he no longer needs Jae and is allowed to return. He had been at a special school and is allowed to return to regular school. And they kind of, they remain friends, but there's some new tension in their relationship. The neighborhood that they live in and the building that they live in together becomes a site for, is being raised for a new, a new construction, a new apartment complex, and most of the people in the neighborhood leave, but Jae remains behind after his mother, his adoptive mother, abandons him. And he is sent to an orphanage in Daegu, is that right? Okay. He escapes from the orphanage and returns to Seoul, where he lives this life in this underground world of teenagers that involve prostitution and group sex and not drugs but drinking, and he experiences a lot of terrible things amongst these groups. And this is the point at which he has this kind of radical transformation in his personality, and this is where they meet again. So from chapter 18. The next day, on my way back from lunch, a kid from my class called out to me, "Hey, Farty Dongyu." That was my nickname at school. My class standing was so low that I ranked just ahead of a kid so fat he could hardly stand on his feet. Still, I felt like I was dead last. I was no good at studying, no good at fighting. I was a wuss, the ultimate idiot. Some weird homeless guy is looking for you, he said. Maybe he's your dad? Where is he? The stationery store across the street. Get us some pastries while you're at it. When I approached the front gate, a guy as skinny as a skewer was waiting for me. Do I know you? I asked. It's me, Jay. He'd left Seoul for the orphanage 2 years earlier, at age 15. Though it was more than enough time for a teenager to change, I was shocked. I barely recognized him. He had shot up to nearly 6 feet in height and didn't have an ounce of fat on him. His cheekbones were burnt red underneath his shaggy beard, and he had the taut appearance of a knife pinned to a cutting board. Is it really you? He was a 17-year-old guy who looked like a grown-up, which meant he would no longer be let off the hook if caught breaking the rules. But his eyes and cheekbones resembled the Jay I knew, and he had the same aura that I remembered from childhood. He said, I've changed that much? If we'd accidentally run into each other, I wouldn't have recognized you. Jay asked me how I was, but I couldn't bring myself to return his question. His appearance was answer enough. We sat on some plastic chairs in front of a convenience store. You want something to eat? I asked. He shook his head and showed me some uncooked grains of rice that he had pulled out of his pocket. What's that? You don't know what rice is? Jay tossed a few grains in his mouth and chomped on them. This is enough for me. I bought a rice ball from the store and came back out. You should have some, I said. He glanced at it, but, as I'd expected, shook his head. I saw you in my dream last night, he said. That's strange. Yesterday I met a girl named Mongnan, and we talked about you. Mongnan? Who's that? She said you'd met a year ago in the Daeangno area. You even called me on her cell, remember? Only then did Jay seem to recall her. I told him how we'd met. Can I use your phone? Jay asked. Then after checking, he said, so it is a 3. What are you talking about? Her number. Long story. Jay returned the phone to me and I asked him, why don't you call her? Now that it's come to this, I wasn't planning on getting in touch with you. He was still chomping on the rice grains. Why? You turned me in. I don't need excuses. I like who I am now. Where are you sleeping? There's a lot of places, if you're fine with sleeping in the cold. You're sure you don't want some? I passed the rice ball to him, but again he shook his head. I finally crammed the rest into my mouth. So how have you been? He asked again. My father got remarried. My stepmom has 2 of her own kids. They're both scared of me and act shocked every time they see me. Their memories seem to reset every morning. It's like they always have this, who are you look on their faces. Jay said, I had a dream yesterday. You were in front of a see-through room. I was inside, but no matter how many times I asked you to come in, you wouldn't. No, actually, it was like you couldn't come in, like you were watching me in a movie. Was there a girl in there too? No, I only saw you. So what happened? Your body exploded. Bang! Like a bomb. It made me hurt all over. You felt pain? I'm often in pain these days. It feels like someone's squeezing my heart, like it's a dish towel. Do you think you've got heart problems or something? There's a pattern to it. It doesn't make a difference whether it's an object, machine, animal, or human. If a being experiences extreme suffering, I feel it too. Jay's sunken eyes became shiny and glowed with an otherworldly energy. You just feel pain? Happiness too, if they're happy, but that's less common. It's usually pain. He recounted all he'd experienced in the past 2 years. Just listening to his story made me feel terrible, especially the parts about being with the kids who'd run away from home. Yesterday, I was under one of the Han River bridges, hiding from the rain, when my heart started hurting. I thought of you and I realized you must be in pain. Jay had once been the interpreter of my desires, and now he said he could read my pain. But I didn't want to be such an easy read, like something you could throw away after finishing. I'm all right, I said. Things aren't great with my stepmom, but if I just put up with 3 more years, I'll be off to college. As soon as I uttered the word college, guilt overwhelmed me, and I looked away. Why are you going to college? Do you want to go? I have to go. Who said so? The world says so. I felt defensive. You really think so? Just because you can't go doesn't make it meaningless. There's a reason why everyone goes. All I'm doing is asking questions. This past year, I've been asking myself questions over and over. It's habit now, I guess. Why am I suffering? Why does someone else's suffering become my suffering? Why has God given me this fate? What does it mean that even though I was meant to die at the bus terminal, I'm still alive? I wake up early in the morning and I wander around all day, reading and thinking. Still, I never have enough time. So, I said, did you find your answer? There's something strange growing out of my back. You know, don't you? I know. Used to say it was a vestigial organ, a degenerate wing bone, like our tailbone. I was joking, but really I kind of believed I had a half-formed wing on my back, and that someday it would start growing again. So has your wing grown out? I touched Jay's back. It didn't feel any different from when he had been a kid. It's the same, I said. I thought I would be like a winged animal from a folktale, but it wasn't like that. Then what is it? In our world, there are machines with unique goals called sensors, whose goal is to feel. Sensors all around the world measure the temperature, humidity, and wind speed. Some sensors hang from the branches of fir trees and react and take pictures when a Siberian tiger passes. There are way too many sensors. They read the flaws on a CD, or use infrared light to measure distance between a subject and a lens. But there are no sensors to detect suffering. So you're saying that's what you are? That's right, he said. I think I'm made that way. In the morning when commuters pass me by on the street, their suffering weighs down my soul. My heart feels like it'll explode with the heaviness of their lives. Can't you escape it? Don't you want an easier life? It's impossible. This is my fate. You've got to come to your senses. You're not a machine, right? God couldn't have just made you feel pain without giving you the power to overcome it. This is God's nature. God's an unbalanced sadist. He gives you an unlimited sex drive, but makes it difficult to satisfy. He gives you death, but makes it impossible to avoid. He gives you life, but doesn't tell you why you were born. Is there anything I can do to help? No. He laughed and shook his head. Really, if there's something I can do, just ask. Jay silently took another handful of rice grains from his coat pocket and handed it to me. The grains of rice looked whiter on his dirty palm. I took a few grains and shoved them in my mouth. The bell signaling the end of lunch rang. Jay gazed up at the school's clock tower with the eyes of a sailor looking back at the port. As I ran towards class, Jay's last words seized me by the neck. You don't need to run, he said. You're the center of the universe. Those words made me feel defensive, but I wasn't sure why until later. Something lurked deep inside me and stayed there for a long time.
Thank you both so much for reading. So I'll just ask Youngha and Jenny a couple of questions, and Youngha, you can do it in Korean or English as you please. I thought I would start at the very beginning of the book. So as you got from Jenny's summary, this is really a story about two friends and all of the hardships and rebellion and different things that they go through. But there's a prologue to the book, which is quite unusual, which is kind of like an unrelated snippet about a magician. And Youngha writes, the magician is more nonchalant than shocked, as if crossing the boundary between life and death is no big deal. And this is following a very gory scene where an assistant's body kind of falls bloodily to the floor. And I'm wondering what this has to do with the book and why you wanted to start here.
이 소설에 나오는 그 제이라는 인물은 굉장히 가난한 아주 굉장히 나쁜 상황에서 태어나잖아요. 버스 터미널의 화장실에서 태어나고 그리고 나중에는 그런 그 오토바이를 타고 질주하는 어떤 아이들의 지도자가 되잖아요.
잠시만요. 통역해가지고. Yeah, let's do a little bit. That's okay. Oh yeah. Technical difficulties.
You felt his pain. So Jay, the protagonist of this story is Jay, and he's a poor boy, and he was born in very difficult circumstances. I'm not sure if you got it from the first chapter that we read, but he was born of a unwed teenage mother in a bus station, and then that's when Mama Pig gets him.
네, 그런데 이 사실은 제이라는 이름도 그렇고 그런 데서 태어나서 나중에 그런 리더가 된다는 것도 그렇고 굉장히 예수의 생애랄까요? 신약 성서에서 굉장히 처음에 이제 모티브를 받아서 이야기를 시작했어요. 그래서 굉장히 아주 비천한 곳에서 태어났지만 굉장히 어떤 숭고한 삶을 추구하는 사람이 있지 않을까 그런 아이들 사이에도 그런 생각을 했던 거예요.
So even though he is born in this kind of circumstances, he does become the leader of this group of bikers. Bikers on mopeds, not really like motorcycles, but he had this idea that even someone from those kinds of circumstances could have this kind of life and become a leader, or could have something special about them.
The biblical part.
Sorry?
And it was a biblical mirror,
Right.
sort of
Sorry.
Jesus story.
그런데 제가 이제 미국에서 이 얘기를 할 때마다 약간 듣는 분들이 혼란을 겪으시는 게 미국에서 모터사이클 갱들을 생각하면 왜 아저씨들 있잖아요. 까만 옷 입은 아저씨들이 큰 오토바이를 타고 다니는 거 생각하는데 한국의 이 아이들은 약간 달라요. 그렇죠? 그래서 얘네들은 주로 배달을 합니다. 그래서 중국 음식이라든가 그다음에 모든 음식들을 배달하고 그래서 1년 내내 거의 사람들이 그 아이들의 도움으로 많은 것을 먹지만 실은 걔네들이 존재한다는 것도 신경 쓰지 않아요. 유령처럼 존재하는데 그런 10대 아이들이 보통은 이제 집을 나온 가출 청소년들이죠. 얘네들이 1년에 딱 2번 자기 존재를 과시하는 거죠. 그게 국경일에 2번 모여서 이제 시내를 수천 대의 오토바이가 질주하면서 자기네들이 이 세상에 존재하고 있다는 것을 드러내는 거죠.
So in America, this idea of motorcycle gangs, you think of like these big burly guys on hogs, right? But in Korea, this idea of autobike gangs is a little bit different. It's not quite motorcycle. Youngha says otobai, right? That's more like a scooter. So it's these kids. It's really these teenagers who are the people who deliver fast food mostly. They're delivery boys. And in Korea, everybody eats. They get their food from these people, and they see these people all the time. But they don't really think about their existence at all. And they don't worry about them at all, even though they are these teenagers who are young and they're poor. And then twice a year, they have these kind of meetings where they'll all ride together. And so he started thinking about that.
그래서 이런 아이들의 지도자가 되는 제이는 말하자면 아까 말씀하신 삶과 죽음의 경계 이런 것도 넘나들고 그것을 초월한 존재처럼 보이고자 하는 욕망이 있고요. 그래서 그것을 통해서 아이들을 지도할 수 있거든요. 제가 이 아이들을 인터뷰를 하고 느낀 건데 얘네들은 놀랍게도 실제로 지도자가 존재하지 않아요. 그러니까 아무 지도자나 조직도 없이 수천 대가 모여서 3.1절과 8.15에 폭주를 하는 거거든요. 그래서
잠시만요.
So Jay, as their leader, he's yeah. So Jay, as their leader, he's this is a group that doesn't really want a leader, or they kind of follow any leader, but he becomes the head of this gang. And when they come together on this day. That's on March 19th, March 1st. The Independence Day of Korea that celebrates the March 1st independence movement from the Japanese colonial government. Do you want to continue?
네, 네. 네, 그래서 얘네들이 이런 이렇게 그때만 자기들의 모습을 드러낼 수 있고 유령처럼 살던 존재들이 자기가 어떤 존재인지를 세상에 알리는 거죠. 근데 얘네들은 사실상 리더가 존재하지 않고 굉장히 자연 발생적으로 모여서 폭주를 하는 거거든요. 근데 이들을 묶어줄 리더가 될 제이에게는 그래서 굉장히 어떤 특별한 능력 같은 것들이 있어야 한다고 생각했어요. 그것이 바로 인간적이지 않은 것이죠. 삶과 죽음을 넘나드는 것.
So the times when these motorcycle gangs get together and come out, this is really the only time that you see their existence, when they're coming together en masse. And again, they don't really have a specific leader, but when Jay becomes their leader, it's as though he has to be somebody who can kind of overcome life and death. So he becomes this kind of savior figure.
예, 그래서 한 문장으로 뭐 좀 이따 더 얘기를 하게 되겠지만 그 줄여서 말한다면 제이는 어떤 프로핏 예언자 같은 그런 존재고 그렇기 때문에 처음에 그 마술사 얘기 같은 어떤 신비한 프롤로그 이런 것들이 좀 필요했습니다.
So considering Jay as a sort of prophet for these teenagers, he has this kind of fantastic element. And so the link with the magician, I wanted to say wizard, but the magician at the beginning has something to do with his figuration as this kind of prophetic figure.
I wanted to ask you both about your work in general. You deal with a lot of people who, your characters are often disenfranchised or outsiders. You're very bold, I think, about investigating kind of these hidden aspects of life in Korea that we've discussed. And Jenny, of course, you've translated some of that in the Times and some of his stories as well. And I'm wondering if Young-ha, you could talk a little, just briefly, about why these people, why are these your characters? And then Jenny, if you could say a little bit about how you see Young-ha's work in the sort of contemporary Korean canon and your experience of translating his pieces.
네, 그 한국 문학에서 주로 다루는 인물들이 있어요. 한국 문학은 좀 미국 문학이나 유럽 문학과 달리 외국의 이민자들이 들어와서 문학을 잘 하지 않아요. 그래서 그렇기 때문에 굉장히 비슷한 교육을 받고 비슷한 환경에서 자란 사람들이 글을 쓰죠.
So Korean literature is a little bit different from European literature or American literature. There aren't as many immigrants coming into Korea, so it's the tradition of Korean literature has stories about the same kinds of people and just Korean people a lot.
그 중에서 특히 어떤 인텔렉추얼들, 지식인들에 관한 이야기가 굉장히 많이 다뤄진 반면 그런 중산층 지식인이 아닌 사람들, 예를 들면은 이 소설에서 다뤄지는 그 배달을 하는 그런 배달하는 청소년들이라든가 아니면 북한에서 온 간첩이라든가 이민자들의 얘기는 거의 다뤄진 적이 없어요.
So a lot of Korean literature tends to focus on intellectuals and writers themselves. And there's not a lot about people like these teenagers, these kind of outsiders, or Young-ha has another novel about a North Korean spy that is kind of an unusual take on life in South Korea.
근데 제가 됐어요? 네. 그래서 제가 이 특히 여러 인물 아웃사이더들 중에서도 이 티네이저들에게 주목하게 된 것은 한 10년 전쯤에 서울의 신촌이라는 굉장히 술집이 많은 거리가 있어요. 그래서 거기를 가는데 굉장히 어린 어떤 10대 소녀가 녹색 베개를 이렇게 옆에 끼고 삐끼를 하고 있었어요. 술집으로 데려가면 돈을 받는 거죠. 사람들한테 지나가는 사람들한테 술집으로 가자고 하고 술집에 데려다 주면 커미션을 받는 거예요.
So when he started thinking about these outsiders, these teenagers, he remembered about 10 years ago he was in this area called Sinchon, which is it's near a university, so there's a lot of bars and there's a lot of young people going around. And there was this girl who was going around carrying a green pillow, and she would kind of, it says in the novel, tout, right? She was trying to get customers for the bar that she worked for, and she would pull them in by kind of attracting them, and she carried this green pillow. What was 그 의미는 뭐예요?
그 의미를 몰라요. 그래서 그냥
He doesn't know what the green pillow meant.
네, 그 그린 필로우는 그냥 눈을 끄는 거예요. 그래서 우리 모두가 지나가다가 그 녹색 베개를 보고 저게 뭐지라고 했더니 좋은 맥주집이 있다. 가자는 거예요. 그래서 우리 모두를 데려다 그런 애들이 굉장히 많았어요. 그 주변에. 그래서 그 중에서 걔는 어떤 컴퍼티션이 있었기 때문에 더 눈을 끌기 위해서 어린 여자애가 녹색 베개를 들고 있었던 거예요.
Okay, so he doesn't know what the green pillow signified, but there were a lot of other girls who were trying to attract customers for their bars, and so he knew her as the green pillow girl, and other people knew her as such, and that was kind of her trademark, I guess.
그래서 걔네들에 대해서 좀 알아보자고 생각을 하게 된 거예요. 그래서 얘네들은 도대체 어디에서 온 애들이고, 얘네들이 그 모여 사는 커뮤니티들이 있거든요. 굉장히 끔찍한 커뮤니티예요. 우리 한국에서는 가출팸이라고 부르는데 가출한 아이들이 어떤 정글의 질서를 가지고 살아가는 그런 곳이거든요. 그래서 전혀 한국 사람들이 그런 세계가 보통 사람들이 있다고 생각하지 않는 세계가 굉장히 넓게 존재하고 있다는 걸 알게 됐고요. 저는 언제나 그런 세계에 좀 관심이 있어요.
So seeing this girl, he started thinking about who all these kids were and how they lived and what their community was. And there is this kind of underground community of these young people that nobody really knows about and you don't really hear about in Korean society. So he started thinking about that and how to tell their story.
감사합니다. Jenny, do you want to say a little bit about Youngha's work and then your interaction with Youngha's work?
Right in front of him? I kind of came into studying Korean literature through this question of why there wasn't a lot in translation when Japanese literature was kind of exploding in the US with Murakami and things like that. And I came into this question, and Kim Young-ha's work was one of the first things that I found that was very new, very different from the previous generations of Korean writers. At the time, it was kind of criticized for being not very serious. There were a couple of authors from his cohort. Young-ha was one of the first of these new generation writers. There was one academic called them zero gravity writers. That meant they had no basis in the political history of Korea, which has a very long realist tradition and a social realist tradition. But you persevered, and they did find that there is something to this. And the younger generation of writers, they are very concerned with social issues, but in a very different way than older Korean literature. It's not as in your face, or it reflects a new reality of South Korea that hadn't really been reflected in the very overtly political literature that preceded it. So he has a lot of humor. That was one of my favorite things. It was also one of the first things I ever translated when I was learning to translate. And his writing style, as you've heard him read and you heard from the translation, is very straight talking, which made it very easy to translate at the beginning. So I liked that. But he's an excellent storyteller, and the stories that he's telling are ones that just haven't been heard. Like you get a tradition of impoverished authors or intellectuals in the history of Korean literature, and it's quite different.
Thank you so much. Let me just ask one more question topically about North Korea. So as Jenny mentioned and Youngha alluded to, he has a previous novel that centers on the life of a North Korean spy in South Korea. And I'm wondering if you just want to say a little bit about how you are processing the current crisis.
예, 작가들은 언제나 좀 그런 식인데 쉽게 말해서 우리가 노스코리아 얘기를 한다고 해서 진짜로 노스코리아 얘기를 하는 것은 아니거든요. 그러니까 그거를 빌려서 사실은 다른 얘기를 하는 거죠. 네.
So as an author, when Korean writers are talking about North Korea, they're not really talking about North Korea. They're talking about something else.
제가 그 인물, 그 캐릭터가 마음에 들었던 것은 그냥 스파이가 아니고 우리가 제이슨 보온 같은 그런 스파이를 생각하는데 그런 사람은 아니고요. 북한에서 남한으로 내려보냈는데 내려보내고 나서 북한에서 잊어버린 거예요, 그 사람을. 그래서 20년 동안 이 사람은 명령이 오지 않는 상태에서 20년 동안 남한에서 혼자 살아남은 그런 간첩인 거죠.
So the character, he's a North Korean spy, but he's not really a spy, not like Jason Bourne, or like he's not cool like that. But he's been sent down to South Korea, or he had been many years ago, and then he was kind of forgotten there. He hasn't received any commands to do anything, and for quite a long time.
그래서 이 사람은 사실은 한국에서 하이네켄 맥주를 좋아하게 됐고, 그 다음에 뭐 빔 벤더스 감독도 좋아하고, 뭐 이런 굉장히 그냥 굉장히 높은 문화적 취향을 갖게 됐는데 어느 날 갑자기 이제 북한에서 갑자기 그 사람을 찾아낸 거죠. 그래서 북한으로 돌아가야 되는 그런 상황이 됐고 그 하루 동안의 이야기예요.
So living in South Korea, this spy has become. He likes Heineken beer. He likes. I missed what you said. But, he's basically become a South Korean man. He's just living a normal life. But then one day he suddenly gets a message that he's supposed to do something.
근데 그런 이 이야기는 저는 굉장히 프란츠 카프카 같은 스토리라고 생각했는데 하지만 이제 그걸 하는 동안 노스코리아에 대해서 굉장히 공부를 많이 하게 됐어요. 이게 이제 소설가의 좋은 점이기도 하고 나쁜 점이기도 해요. 쓸데없는 걸 너무 많이 알게 돼요.
So when he was thinking about this story, he thought of it as kind of a Kafkaesque story. But in the process of writing it, he did do a lot of research and learned a lot about North Korea. And he says that when you're writing a novel, you learn a lot of really useless information. So now he knows a lot of useless information about North Korea.
네, 그래서 오늘 뭐 북한 문제에 대해서 길게 얘기할 수는 없지만 유엔 총회도 열리고 있고, 근데 제가 아주 어렸을 때부터 사실은 북한에 좀 관심이 있었던 게 저는 DMZ 근처에서 살았었거든요. 어렸을 때. 그래서 저희 집에서 북한이 보였어요. 북한 사람들이 움직이는 군인들이 오는 거 보였고, 그래서 아마 그런 영향 때문에 그 Your Republic is Calling You도 썼을 거고, 또 지금까지도 계속 관심을 갖고 있어요. 그래서 이번 크라이시스에 대해서 말씀드리자면,
Okay. So he left me hanging there. So he's always had this, he doesn't know quite what to say about the current situation, but he's always had this interest in North Korea because he lived, when he was younger, he lived very near the border, so close that he could see the other side and could see like people. And so he had been interested in this and wanted to write about it. But then in regards to this crisis,
여기 계신 분들도 그렇고 특히 미국에 계신 분들은 미국 신문이나 이런 데 나온 어떤 김정은의 굉장히 그 웃긴 이미지라던가 북한을 묘사하는 어떤 카툰 같은 걸 많이 보실 거예요. 그래서 그런 데서 생겨난 어떤 이미지가 있을 거예요. 그런 건 잊어버리셔야 돼요.
So for people here and for people in North Korea as well, there's an image of Kim Jong-un that's a media image that's a very laughable, almost cartoonish kind of picture of him. But that's something that we should all forget.
사람은 그가 무슨 말을 하느냐가 중요한 게 아니고 어떻게 행동해 왔느냐가 중요하다. 이것은 소설가나 영화를 시나리오를 쓰는 사람들 모두가 사실은 굉장히 잘 알고 있는 거예요. 우리가 영화를 보고 나오면 인물의 대사는 잘 기억이 안 나지만 그 인물이 어떤 결정을 내리고 어떤 행동을 했는가는 잘 기억이 나거든요.
So it's not just when you're writing. So when you're looking at somebody, it's important to look at how they got to a place, and it's important to see what kind of decisions they've made. Anyone who's written for film or for in literature will know that when you're developing a character, you have to think about the important decisions they make and how that reflects their character.
그래서 김정은과 북한의 정치 엘리트들은 이렇게 생각하시는 게 저는 맞다고 생각하는데 굉장히 진지한 사람들이고요. 그들은 지금까지 하겠다는 것을 모두 하고 있어요. 그러니까 지금 김정은이 뭘 하겠다고 하면 그것을 앞으로 할 거예요. 그렇게 생각하셔야 돼요.
So Kim Jong-un and the political elite in North Korea, they're not stupid. They're very smart, and everything that they say that they're going to do, they've done it. So everything they say they will do, they'll do it.
김정은은 몇 년 사이에 자기 경쟁자를 전부 죽였고 굉장히 잔인한 방법으로 죽였고요. 그리고 엄청난 제재, 국제사회의 제재 속에서 미사일을 만들어 왔고 지금은 정말 ICBM까지 만들 수 있는 상황이 됐고요. 그리고 점점 더 그걸 해가고 있잖아요. 그래서 그들은 앞으로 그들이 하고자 하는 것을 할 겁니다.
So Kim Jong-un, when he's only been in power for a short time, but he was able to consolidate his power and got rid of a lot of people who opposed him, and has come to this point where he has things like ICBM, and they're still going to be, he's still going. So,
그래서 이런 관점을 한번 생각해 보셔야 되는데요. 북한 사람들이 굉장히 뭔가 이상한 말을 하고 이상한 행동을 한다고 생각하지만 전혀 다른 관점을 갖고 있는데 북한의 특히 그 김정은까지 이어지는 패밀리들과 그 정치 엘리트들은 정치의 천재예요. 그러니까 너무나 열악한 상황에서 그 나라를 유지하고 하고 싶은 걸 하고 있잖아요. 그 나라는 정말 문제가 있는 나쁜 나라지만 적어도 그들이 권력을 지키는 데 있어서는 굉장히 천재적이다라는 것을 인정하지 않을 수가 없어요.
So we can think of this point of North Korea as a kind of strange place, and you see things like that all the time. But Kim Jong-un and the families, the elite political families that are connected to him, they're interested in maintaining their power, and they're interested in maintaining their authority. So they've done all these terrible things, but their main interest is in maintenance.
예, 그래서 미국과 한국에서 그 북한을 상대하는 북한의 외교관들 있잖아요. 외교관이라든 이런 사람들은 지금 20년이 넘도록 지금 이 문제를 다루고 있어요. 근데 우리나라는 한국은 한 2, 3년 만에 한 번씩 바뀌고 미국도 자주 바뀌죠. 그래서 이들은 그 문제에 굉장한 전문가예요. 핵 문제, 그다음에 미국을 다루는 문제에서 저는 이게 어떻게 결론이 날지 굉장히 재미있게 생각하고 좀 흥미롭게 바라보고 있고요. 네.
Sorry, I missed the second sentence. But in the U.S. and South Korea, there have been people who have been watching this situation for a very long time. In the
그 북한의 외교관들이라든가 이 문제를 담당하고 있는 사람들은 몇십 년간 정말 전문가로서 이 문제를 다뤄왔어요. 그런데 미국과 한국은 자꾸 바뀌었죠.
Okay, so the people who have been the foreign diplomats in North Korea and who are in charge of foreign affairs, they've been in power for a very, very long time. But the people in South Korea and the U.S. who are in charge of this keep changing. So he's watching this situation with great interest.
감사합니다. Shall we take a few questions from the audience? I'd like to take maybe 3, and then we can kind of do them as a batch query. So, a mic will come around to you.
Thank you for coming. It's a great honor to meet you in person. I've been wanting to ask you this question for a long time, actually. One of the keywords that reasonably we can describe to kind of represent the emotional and spiritual health of South Korea in the past 3-4 words has been 헬조선, right? And the conservative approach to looking at this issue usually is, hey, we went through the independence from Japan, we went through the war, we went through dictatorship, we went through democracy, and you guys are just complaining about employment and jobs, right? As much as that's politically incorrect, as someone who is also interested in the life of North Korean defectors or Koreans living in Cuba or Mexico, or in your case, orphans or others, I cannot help but kind of agree with the approach from the conservative voice, right? When I talk to my contemporaries in Korea, they say, who are you to talk to me about such a emotional state? So I've always wanted to hear what you think about the phenomena. Yeah,
Okay.
Thank you.
잠시만요. 질문 2개 더 받아주세요. Any other questions that we could pull together? Thank you.
Hi, I'm a big fan of your work, and it's an honor to meet you. So I know that you've lived in various places throughout your life, and if I'm not mistaken, this piece in particular was written right here in New York. So my question for you is, how does the environment you're in have an impact on the writing you're doing?
Thank you. Do you have a question too? Right next to you.
So I'm just wondering why you chose to read those 2 chapters, especially for second chapters, because first chapter is an introduction, so it's understandable, but for second chapter, that's not from ending or that's not from climax, it's still building up some stories. So I want to know what you wanted us feel with that second chapter.
Maybe we'll start with that question first. 그거를 왜 선택했는고요?
She chose the chapter, and she ordered me to read down. So why?
That's true.
Why did you choose the chapter?
Ooh, I have no good answer. So we were trying to figure out a good way to do Korean and English and to keep this moving along so that people who don't know Korean would also be able to sit here and not be totally bored to death. But chapter 18 I thought was really interesting because of the reason that Jenny mentioned. It's a bit of a turning point in the character development, but it doesn't sort of give away anything. Yeah. Okay. All right. So why don't we go back in time? So the second question was about your writing process. Like you write your novels in different places. So how does it affect you?
사실 이 소설은 2012년까지 제가 뉴욕에 있었는데 몇 년 동안 뉴욕에 있었는데 I Hear Your Voice 너의 목소리가 들려는 뉴욕에 있을 때 쓴 거예요. 물론 이제 그 전부터 취재는 한국에서 계속 하고 있었지만.
So this novel was written when Young-ha was living in New York. He was here from 2010 to 2012. You were at Columbia, right?
예. 근데 그때 저는 혼자 아내와 함께 와 있긴 했지만 여기는 미국에 친구도 없고 그래서 굉장히 좀 우울했던 것 같아요. 우울하고 되게 고립돼 있다고 느끼고 좀 그랬던 것 같고 일종의 그런 홈식 같은 것도 있고요. 그래서 여러 가지 이야기 중에서 이 이야기를 선택한 것 같아요. 이 아이들은 사회로부터 고립되어 있고 그리고 존재하는데도 사람들이 존재하지 않는 것처럼 생각하고 그랬던 거죠.
So when he was living here, he came with his wife, but he didn't really know anyone. He didn't have any friends here, and so he felt very lonely and depressed. And so he started thinking about these kids who are outcasts, people who exist but don't seem to exist.
그런데 그 지금 말씀하신 그런 환경 environment라는 게 꼭 이렇게 지리적으로 어떤 도시에 있느냐 이게 영향을 끼치기도 하지만 정치적인 환경도 영향을 미치거든요. 아까 메디나 선생님도 얘기하시고 그랬지만 이게 그때 2012년이라든가 이때는 이명박 그리고 박근혜 정권으로 이어지는 한국의 보수적인 정권들이 이제 계속 있었을 때고 그래서 희망 같은 것들이 잘 보이지 않았고요. 그래서 10대들이 그러니까 uprising 봉기를 하긴 하지만 그것은 성공하지 못하거든요. 그래서 그런 어떤 좀 좌절감 이런 것도 그 소설에 이제 반영이 돼 있었어요.
So even though he was here when he was writing it, the period in Korea was a time when there was a shift towards the conservative with President Lee Myung-bak, and then going into Park Geun-hye's presidency. So he felt like they were kind of losing hope, and people of this age group in their teens and early 20s, they felt like they couldn't succeed, and he was relating to that.
그래서 제가 일요일에도 행사에서도 말하기도 했는데 그렇지만 작년부터 이어지는 탄핵 국면 그다음에 그걸 통해서 실제로 우리가 정권이 바뀌고 그리고 새로운 대통령을 뽑고 또 여러 가지 사회에서 변화가 일어나고 있거든요. 그래서 그런 것들은 저뿐만 아니라 한국의 다른 작가들의 어떤 글쓰기 스타일에도 굉장히 영향을 미칠 것으로 예상하고 있어요. 왜냐하면 세월호 사건 이후에 작가들이 또 굉장히 글쓰기 스타일이 달라졌거든요. 한국은 작은 사회여서 이제 그런 정치적인 환경에서 굉장히 영향을 또 많이 받는 부분이 있습니다.
So he spoke about this at an event on Sunday as well, and there's a lot of social change going on in Korea with the change in the ouster of the president and the Seoul ferry incident a couple years ago. This is a smaller kind of society, so these political changes have great meaning socially.
You know, I said this on Sunday's event to the audience is we impeached our president, so can you, guys.
Thank you.
It was not easy, but very, dynamic and fascinating, experience.
The other thing that he mentioned was just that the idea of an environment is your physical surroundings, but it's also the political change that you're experiencing as you write. And he was making the point that since the Seoul ferry disaster and the candlelight movement, it's actually, you can see the influence in contemporary writing. So it's quite fascinating. I actually think we sort of answered your question, this first question, in the course of this, which was around conservative politics in Korea and sort of this thing you see in a lot of developing countries or sort of very rapidly developed countries, which is, hey, you should just sort of be happy about what you have, and isn't the striving for these other goods sort of problematic, right? I don't know if there's anything you want to add, although I think you sort of got to it a little bit in your analysis of the social, politics.
네, 저는 저분이 말씀하신 것 중에 뭐 헬조선에 대해서 좀 말씀드리고 싶은데, 그 말이 굉장히 작년에 유행했었거든요. 근데 그 빅데이터들을 보면 그 말이 어쨌든 정치적인 그 과정, 작년에 탄핵과 이 국면에서 많이 사라졌어요. 그래서 거의 좀 많이 안 쓰이고 있거든요. 저도 그 탄핵하는 그 집회, 그러니까 그 촛불 집회 한 8번 정도 참가를 했었는데, 굉장히 어리고 젊은 친구들이 나와서 굉장히 많이 스피치를 하고 발언을 하는 걸 들었어요. 그래서 거기까지 하고 계속할게요. 네.
So he wanted to speak to this idea of Hell Joseon that the questioner asked. So this term was very, very popular last year. But if you're looking at big data and kind of analytics about term usage, it's kind of disappearing, particularly in the wake of the impeachment. And he had attended a lot of these protests and these demonstrations for the impeachment and listened to a lot of the speeches of these young people.
그런데 지금은 그러니까 어떤 모두가 희망을 가지고 있는 일종의 허니문이라고 저는 생각해요. 그래서 문재인 정권과 그 다음에 어떤 젊은 층들이 어떤 대통령제도, 우리나라 대통령 중심제니까요. 그래서 굉장히 많은 일을 할 것으로 현재는 기대하고 있기 때문에 실제적으로 문제들이 해결되진 않았지만 기대를 품고 일단 기다리고 있는 그런 상황이라고 생각해요. 그래서 이게 결과가 어떻게 될지는 모르겠는데 좋은 결과가 있기를 바랄 뿐이죠. 예.
So, in the wake of the impeachment, Young-ha thinks that Korea is in this period of a kind of hopeful honeymoon. With the election of the new president, there's all these expectations, and there's kind of an anticipation about what will come. It's not resolved yet, but people still have hope, or not still, have hope again.
네, 감사합니다. A few more questions up front here and then in the back.
What are you working on now?
잠시만요.
Yeah, I'm always working on the novel.
간단하죠.
This question is actually for, I guess, all three of you, based on the perspectives that you have in your own work. But this is something that you brought up earlier about how right now there's been kind of like a renaissance in like Asian American literature and like the bringing of a lot of Asian literature into the US and like Western places that have been translated into English. But the vast majority of that doesn't really seem to come from Korea. Like you said earlier, there's a lot of Japanese literature, like Murakami, all these Ishiguro, all these people are very famous and like well known around the world and are idolized. And there's always been a lot of Chinese literature that's come into the US. But for some reason, there's, from my perspective at least, there didn't seem to be a lot of Korean literature that comes in. There are Korean American authors and there are a lot of Asian American authors who are coming out now. So I was wondering why you think that's been happening, where the influx of Korean literature isn't coming into the West the way that, say, television or films or music has kind of spread globally, and whether that's kind of like a topic of conversation among the community, the literary community in Korea. It's kind of a long question.
Thank you. There was one in the back as well.
Hi, I had a question about, so in some of your stories, in the English versions, there are letters in place of names, like Y, M, K. I was wondering why you did that, and when do you choose to do that? Because sometimes it makes the character feel kind of stark in contrast to like Moknan or Tae. And then also if this is something that changes in translation, so in the original text, is there a name or a relative title?
네, 그 세 번째 질문부터. 예, 그거를 왜 이제 네임을 안 하고요, K 같은 거를 하고. 그리고 한글로는 어떻게 돼 있고?
글쎄요, 특별히 그런 생각을 한 것은 아닌데 그때 제가 글쎄요, 이름을 정하는 게 굉장히 좀 어려운 작업인데 특히 그 제이는 아까도 말씀드린 것처럼 어떤 예언자라든가 프로핏 같은 느낌을 주고 싶었어요. 그래서 실제 한국에서 잘 쓰여지지 않는 이름을 주고 싶었어요. 그래서 제이라고 주었고요. 그다음에 제 옛날 소설 나는 나를 파괴할 권리가 있다 같은 게도 보면 K라든가 C라든가 이런 이름이 나오는데 그것은 지금 현대 독자들은 잘 모르지만 한국의 식민지 시대에 한국 소설가들이 쓰던 그 버릇이에요. 그래서 그런 느낌을 좀 주고 싶었어요.
So he hasn't especially thought a lot about why he uses the initials, but he says that coming up with names for characters is really hard. But in the case of Jay, he wanted to have a kind of special name for him because he wanted to give this sense of him becoming a prophet or having this kind of Jesus appearance, this messianic appearance. And it's kind of an unusual name in Korean. But in previous novels, like I Have the Right to Destroy Myself, he uses initials like K and C for the characters. But this is just kind of a convention of Korean literature that he was following along with.
좀 더 깊이 들어가서 좀 얘기를 해보면요. 네, 이건 이제 여기 글을 쓰시는 분들이 많을 것이라고 생각해서 제가 말씀을 드리는 건데요.
So to go into this a little more deeply, he assumes that there's some people who write and who are interested in writing here. So
제가 쓰는 이야기들 중에서 사람들이 믿기 어려워하는 현실들이 있어요. 그 현실이지만 믿기 어려운 것이죠. 반드시 존재하고 있지만 그런 사람들이 있다고 믿고 싶어하지 않는 충격적인 이야기들을 전할 때 작가로서는 굉장히 좀 신중한 선택을 해야 될 때가 있습니다.
So a lot of the things that he writes about are things that are kind of unbelievable or difficult to believe. So when he's writing about that, he wants to approach it
예.
differently.
네. 왜냐하면 자 여기 쇼킹한 일이 있어요. 여러분들 다 보세요 한다고 사람들이 그걸 보고 믿지는 않아요. 그러니까 작가에게 가장 중요한 것은 사람들이 그 얘기를 사실인 것처럼 믿는 것이에요. 그 아리스토텔레스 이후로 똑같이 작가들이 해온 것이죠. 그런데 흔한 이름과 굉장히 흔히 사용되는 이름을 쓴다고 해서 사람들이 그 얘기를 사실로 믿는 것은 아니에요.
So a lot of the things that he talks about in his work is kind of shocking, right? And people don't believe it or don't want to believe it. But when something is written as fiction, it gets believed as fact in the way that Aristotle talks about. So to use common names when dealing with these kind of shocking situations, it doesn't help anybody believe it more.
그래서 특히 이번 소설에 대해서만 말씀드리면 너의 목소리가 들려해 보면 이건 굉장히 비현실적인 이야기라는 것을 처음부터 얘기해요. 그래서 마술사도 나오고 그다음에 주인공은 하늘로 올라가기도 하고 그리고 특별한 능력을 갖고 있는 사람으로 나오죠. 그런데 이것을 읽은 독자들은 이 소설이 굉장히 충격적이고라고 생각해요. 이런 일에 대해서 굉장히 사실적으로 느끼거든요. 근데 그것은 소설이 갖고 있는 굉장히 특별한 능력이에요. 그래서 신화적이고 아주 마술적인 장치들을 넣었음에도 불구하고 어쩌면 그랬기 때문에 사람들이 이것을 더 사실적이라고 믿는 거죠. 그럴 때는 이름도 굉장히 중요합니다.
Okay, so in the case of this story, it's a very unbelievable story. It's hard to swallow, right? So he has these things like the magician, and he has the ascension of the protagonist. I was going to say 주인공. And there are a lot of shocking events that happen. But in a novel, there's kind of the special characteristic of a novel is that these things that are unbelievable can be felt as fact by the reader. And this is kind of the special characteristic of novels.
그리고 지금 소설에 대해서 말씀하실래요?
지금 쓰고 있는
네.
제가 지난 몇 년간 굉장히 열심히 살아왔습니다. 그래서 소설도 많이 내고 산문집도 많이 내서 당분간은 좀 쉬고 있고요. 근데 제 서랍을 열어보면 쓰다가 이제 쓰다가 잘 못 그만둔 소설들이 굉장히 많거든요. 그래서 최근에 발표한 소설들도 다 거기서 이어서 시작한 것이어서 그 중에서 하나를 골라서 시작할 것 같은데 지금은 잘 모르겠습니다.
This is to the question of what he's working on now. I'm sorry.
So he said he's been working very, very hard for the last few years. He's written novels, he's written nonfiction, he's written movie screenplays, right? One that's the top box office right now. But he's kind of taking a break, but he has a drawer. If you pull open his drawer, he says you'll find a bunch of unfinished stuff. And so he'll probably pull the next work out of there, but he doesn't know which one it is yet.
So just the second question about translation, if you both wanted to say a little bit about why is there not more literature from Korea in translation, or has that changed? Do you see a new trend? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, that's what I want to know. So why? 글쎄요.
제니가 대답해야 되겠어요.
It's because you don't buy the books.
That's a good answer.
Korean literature in translation has historically had a problem with bad translation. And the Korean government has invested quite a lot of money since 1996 in growing Korean literature in translation. Young-ha's work has been, it was targeted for early translation because it was thought to be more, would be well received in the West, right, or outside of Korea, and it has been. Also, I told you it was easy to translate, so people liked it. But there is this movement to have more literature in translation, but there's a long series called the Dalki Archive series that something like 100 books that the Korean government has supported for translation, so you can find them now.
한 가지 더 말씀드리고 싶은 것은 우리가 어떤 나라의 문학을 읽고 싶다고 했을 때 그 나라에서 일어나는 일에 관심이 있어야 되거든요.
One thing he would like to say about that is that when you say you want to read another country's literature in translation, you have to be interested in what's going on there first.
2차 세계대전 이후에 프랑스 작가들, 예를 들면 알베르 카미라든가 아니면 사르트르라든가 이런 작가들을 전 세계 사람들이 읽기 시작한 것은 2차 세계대전 이후에, 즉 나치 이후에 유럽이 어떻게 살아가고 있는가, 어떻게 그 문제를 극복하고 싶어 하는가에 대해서 전 세계가 관심을 가졌기 때문이고요.
So writers in the 20th century like Sartre and Camus, the interest in that has something to do with the interest in Europe in the post-World War II era. So what happens to Europe after the Nazis?
네. 그리고 일본이 경제적으로 굉장히 중요한 나라로 부상하면서 일본이라는 나라에 대해서 굉장히 호기심들이 많이 생겼고 일본 사람들이 어떤 음악을 듣고 어떤 음식을 먹고 어떻게 사랑을 하는가 이런 것에 대해서 관심이 있을 때 역시 일본 작가들이 부상하고요. 또 중국에 대해서 또 요즘 굉장히 관심이 많잖아요. 그래서 중국 사람들이 과연 어떻게 문화혁명을 겪고 그 위에 어떻게 자본주의를 받아들이는가 그런 것에 대해 관심이 생길 때 또 중국 문학에 대해서도 또 역시 사람들이 읽을 마음이 생기죠.
So in the case of Japan, Japan had a lot of economic power, and that kind of sparked an interest in how people lived there, what kind of music they listened to, what their literature was like. And the same is for China. There's a curiosity about how Chinese people live and what Chinese society is like, and this kind of spills over into the literature. I would add, though, that from my perspective, there was a very concerted effort to introduce Japanese culture to the US in the post-World War II era. Having to turn an enemy into a friend has something to do with that. And turning them from a military power into a cultural power was something that was a project that was colluded in with the US and Japan.
그래서 아마 제가 북한에서 온 작가였다면 훨씬 더 많은 분들이 오셨을 거예요.
So if he was a writer who came from North Korea, there would be way more people here right now.
All right.
그래서 아마 그런 영향도 있을 거라고 생각해요.
Yeah, there is that kind of influence, and that he thinks that might have influenced people coming to see him too.
Yeah, I think I was just going to add that if for those of you who are interested, the Korean government effort that she mentioned is called the Korean Literature Translation Institute, LTI, and you can sort of see what books they're sponsoring. The Dalki translations are a really worthwhile contribution, although the translations are quite uneven. I think, the Hangang's win of the Man Booker certainly is helping the situation around interest, and there's all these wonderful Korean Americans also doing translation, so that's something to really support. Maybe just one more question, and then let's buy some books in the back and have a couple drinks. Last question. I'm going to choose. There are two people in the back. I will leave it up to you.
If you were to teach a course on Korean literature in America, what would you choose as the essential text someone should read from Korea, translated or not?
Great question.
Essential Korean
네,
books.
여기서 강의를 하시다면요.
네.
네, 그 한국 문학 중에서 뭐를 고르시겠냐?
글쎄요. My books.
Good answer.
글쎄요. 일단은 한국의 그런 역사적인 배경들을 좀 이해하시는 게 좋고, 또 소설이라는 것은 기본적으로 저는 인간이 겪는 트러블에 대한 것이라고 생각해요. 그렇다면 남한이 겪은 가장 큰 트러블은 한국 전쟁이거든요. 그래서 한국 전쟁을 다룬 작품들이 꽤 번역이 돼 있습니다. 대표적으로 황석영이라든가 게스트 같은 작품들 권하고 싶고요.
So, were he to teach a class on Korean literature, he'd be interested in texts that teach about the historical background of Korea. And for novels, there's usually some sort of, he says trouble, but a kind of, there's like a historical core or some major event, a cataclysmic event that things kind of center on. And for Korea, that's the Korean War. So he would choose probably an author like Hwang Seok-young. And what's in translation is The Guest. Actually, there's several of Hwang Seok-young's novels are in translation.
그리고 지금 우리가 겪고 있는 이 미사일 크라이시스 같은 것도 실은 한국 전쟁이 끝나지 않았기 때문에 일어나고 있는 일이거든요. 그래서 사실은 미국에 만약에 저의 학생이 있다면 한국 전쟁이 무엇이었고 어떻게 끝났는지를 이해하는 것이 지금의 지금 미사일 크라이시스를 이해하는 데 굉장히 도움이 될 거라고 생각하고요.
So even in the case of this current missile crisis, this reminds us that the Korean War is not actually over. It never ended. It was just a ceasefire. So he would teach Korean literature that focuses on the war and that that might help us get around the question of what this current situation is and where it came from.
한국 전쟁 이후에 또 가장 큰 사건이라면은 광주 1980년에 광주인데 많은 이제 외국의 독자들은 한강시의 베지테리안을 알고 계시겠지만 실은 한강시의 저는 가장 훌륭한 작품은 소년이 온다, 휴먼 액트라고 생각해요. 이건 광주 항쟁을 다룬 거거든요. 광주에서 태어난 여성 작가가 정말 그 약자의 시선으로 그걸 보고 굉장히 잘 썼거든요. 굉장히 좋은 작품이기 때문에 번역이 돼 있을 거라고 저는 생각하는데 그리고 알려드리고 싶고, 또 한국에 굉장히 좋은 여성 작가들이 많이 있어요. 그래서 많이 소개되지는 않았는데요. 아마 문학에 관심 있는 분들이라면 여성들 특히 굉장히 여기서도 늘 가보면 클래스에는 여성들이 많은데 한국의 여성 작가들을 좀 많이 소개하고 싶어요.
Okay, so the second major event that in Korean history that he would want to focus on is the 1980 Gwangju Rebellion, also known for, in many different ways, the rebellion, uprising, insurrection, massacre. And there's a lot of works that have been written about that. Recently, Han Gang, who won the Man Booker Prize in Asia, won for The Vegetarian, and many of you are probably familiar with that, but he thinks her best work is Human Acts, which is also out in translation now.
Yeah, which is about from the perspective of
told from a young female author. And
yeah, from
from
Gwangju.
Gwangju, right. And he also says that there's a lot of really great female writers in Korea that he would like to introduce.
I just want to plug one of those because I see parallels between her work and yours, which is Hwang Jung-eun. Yeah, I really love Hwang Jung-eun, and she has, I guess, 2 books in English, but the one that came out most recently is through Deborah Smith's imprint, and it's called 100 Shadows. It's really quite beautiful, and it has some similarities to the book that we're discussing of Young-ha's tonight, so I would recommend that. So if you could join me in giving a round of applause to Jenny and Young-ha.
감사합니다. Thank you.
And in the back, please buy a book and he will sign it. And we're supporting also Word Up Community Bookstore, which is an amazing space uptown. And please support the workshop. And thank you so much.
네, 수고하셨습니다. 감사합니다.